Hi, I'm Lisa.
I'm Samantha.
Welcome back to Exhumed. Tonight, I'm going to tell you about black-eyed children. Now, before we start, I want to remind you that if you are liking what you're hearing, please like and follow and subscribe and
All the things.
it really helps our podcast to grow, and we will love you forever for it.
Remember, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast. Do all the things.
Yeah, pretty soon we'll make it to all of the other platforms as soon as we figure out how. Let's get started with the story. Black-eyed children. On a summer night in 1996, Brian Bethel was on his way to pay some bills at an office in Abilene, Texas. He sat in his car near a theater in front of him, writing a check to drop off in the drop box. Two boys between the ages of 9 and 12 came up and knocked on his window. One curly-headed kid, the other one a redhead with pale skin and freckles. They both wore hoodies. The boys explained that they were going to see Mortal Kombat, but they forgot their money, so they needed a ride to their mom's house to pick up their money and get back to the theater. The whole time this conversation was going on, Brian felt uneasy, like an irrational fear. The kids were saying things like, "It won't take that long. We're just kids. It's not like we have a gun or anything." Just as he was about to give in and open the car door, he looked up and noticed the kids' eyes were completely black, like soulless orbs. Bethel gave a few excuses, then drove off, noticing in the rearview mirror that the kids had vanished. Brian went home and reached out to a few people he trusted on the internet. Then the next thing you know, the story spread and people came forward with their own experience, some fake, some legit. The creepy part about this is the movie they wanted to see was almost halfway over already when they were asking for a ride back to their moms. And they didn't sound like little kids. They were talking in a monotone. No emotion, just kind of robotic.
That's weird.
Yeah. So the urban legend enthusiasts believe that these kids are an example of death personified as a child. He's a journalist. When he first wrote this story, a lot of people just chalked it up to being like a creepypasta story. I actually listened to a podcast called From the Stars or Beyond the Stars or something like that. I don't know. The host of this podcast was actually a guest on the Ancient Alien podcast.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, he interviewed Brian Bethel, and it really happened. It's not just a story that he wrote. And he said it was just one of the creepiest things that's ever happened. Never happened to him since. Has no idea where these kids came from. Has no idea where they went to.
And they're just children with all black eyes? Like, what about the
Yeah.
whites? Is that
No whites, just completely black. Like on Supernatural,
the
when
demons?
you realize that someone's a demon and their eyes are completely black, no whites to them. Yeah.
How old are these kids?
The ones that he saw were between ages of like 9 to 12, but it said that they can be like from kindergarten up until, teenage years. But they're always kids. So what they think is that, our defenses are lowered when we see these kids because they're kids, and they're asking for help. So of course you want to help kids and you don't think anything of it. They're kids. They're harmless. That's by design. So their eyes are completely black. They're kindergarten to high school age. They talk in a monotone voice, sounding more mature than they should, which is creepy as hell to think about.
Yeah, it is.
They wear outdated clothing also. Like not like real old-timey clothing, but they'll be wearing like a sports hoodie and that team isn't even a thing anymore. You know what I mean? They often repeat the same phrases and they'll beg you and sound desperate to begin with, but then become more aggressive. You can find them on your doorstep and they'll be asking to come into your house to use the phone or whatever, or you will find them trying to get into your car. The thing is, they cannot enter without permission.
What's their purpose?
There's a lot of theories behind that.
Okay.
If denied entry, they eventually give up and move on. but they'll get aggressive first. They get more and more aggressive and pissed off when you keep telling them no. When victims allow them inside, though, inviting death and destruction upon themselves is what they're doing. No one knows what they want. No one knows what they do if let in, but there have been fatal accidents, cancer diagnosis, after stories of people actually letting them in. In Irish folklore, there are changelings, and those are fairy babies swapped out with human babies. They'll take your kid and they'll replace it with one of their kids, but it's not really a kid.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
They're thinking maybe that's where this whole urban legend has come from, is maybe changelings. In Native American tradition in Lake Tahoe, California, and Pyramid Lake, Nevada, there are water babies. The water babies are evil spirits whose cries lure people to their deaths. So again, kids.
Yeah, and that kind of makes sense because Lake Tahoe is screwed up as it is. I've never heard of Pyramid Lake.
Pyramid Lake is the first thing that I saw when I looked up water babies.
Okay.
I don't know anything about Lake Tahoe.
It mostly has to do with like the mob.
Oh, I see. Okay.
A lot of people, there could be a lot of people at the bottom.
Oh, okay. That might be an episode. That could be an episode. Okay, so the theories behind these black-eyed children is that ultimately they take advantage of our humanity and human decency to help someone more helpless, especially kids, and they use it against us. Some people think that these are demons or aliens. Aliens could be one of them.
Aliens is the answer for everything.
Aliens, yeah. But they could be. It could be aliens. Who knows? Aliens have been around longer than we have, so maybe. They could be the reanimated undead. They could be like zombies.
Okay, I was about to
reanimated
tell you to explain
somehow.
that.
Yeah. They could just be ghosts. They could be possessed children. But seeing that they're wearing outdated clothing, maybe they're demonically possessed corpses of children.
I feel like that would make more sense.
I feel like it would too. Because to me, I think they're demonic. I don't think they're aliens. I think they're some kind of demon. But some people believe that they're vampires. Because of the vampire lore, you have to let them in. You have to give them permission to enter. Could be. I don't know. Now, there are a lot of stories about black-eyed children. And like I said, this didn't even come about until the 90s. Like, I guess there were some stories back in the 80s, but it wasn't even really on anybody's radar until the 90s when Brian Bethel wrote his story, and then everyone else came out and said, oh my God, I've seen him too. Now, some of these stories might be legit. Some of them might be completely fake. I don't know, but this is what I found. I'll read some of them. In January 2016, a woman in Vermont made a tragic mistake of letting 2 black-eyed children into her home. A blizzard was raging outside when she heard a faint knocking on her front door. A boy and a girl stood there shivering, begging to use her phone. Unnerved by their presence, the woman nevertheless let them in and went to retrieve her phone. After the children walked into the light of the family room, the woman realized their eyes were completely black. As she stared at them in horror, her husband's nose began to bleed at the same time that the power suddenly went out. After what felt like an eternity, the children spoke in unison, saying their parents had arrived. The woman watched as the 2 quietly left her house and entered a nondescript black car with a man in a suit. Not long after the strange encounter, the woman's husband was diagnosed with severe skin cancer. The woman began to suffer from regular nosebleeds and an onslaught of other medical issues. She is convinced her failing health, along with her husband's, is the result of the black-eyed children she unwittingly let into their home. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think they are?
I don't know, but I'm trying to think of what they're saying and how they're reacting. Are their eyes normal when they're trying to convince to be let in? And then do they turn black afterwards, or are they just black to begin with?
They're just black to begin with.
Why would anyone let them into their home? So
because they don't notice. They don't notice the black eyes right away.
What are they saying? And how are they saying it to be so convincing to... But they're children.
Thing. They're kids, yeah. But they're talking in monotone, which is creepy as fuck.
Yeah.
You know? And they sound older than they're supposed to be. And they're just asking for help. They're asking to use the phone. They're It's usually they're asking to use the phone, or if you're in a car, they're asking for a ride somewhere.
And the natural instinct is to help children.
Yeah, and with the nosebleeds, I would say demons or aliens.
I'd say demons.
I think they're demons. I think they're demonic.
Because I don't think aliens would do things like that. I really just anymore think that they're here watching us, and yeah, I'm
Some of
staying away
them
from
are,
you guys.
yeah, but there are different breeds of aliens, though.
Yeah.
Some are
Yeah,
good,
could
some
be.
are bad.
Could be aliens.
Who knows? What's that alien that's supposed to look like a giant fucking ant?
I thought it
Don't
was a
say
grasshopper.
mantid. No, you're thinking of the mantid from Resident Alien.
Oh yeah. Son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch. Actually, okay, let me read another story. This one is called The Boy by the Truck. On March 17th, 2008, a 12-year-old boy had a bone-chilling experience in an outlet parking lot. While waiting in his mother's truck for his mother to finish getting a haircut, he saw a boy walking across the parking lot. Thinking it was a friend from school, the boy banged on the window until... Wait, let me start that over again.
Get your shit together.
Thinking it was a friend from school, the boy banged on the window until the other boy turned. Realizing it was not his friend, the boy in the truck watched in confusion as the strange kid walked up and stared through the window. The boy caught one glance at the other boy's solid black eyes and knew he was staring into the face of evil. "You must let me in," the black-eyed boy demanded. Panicked, the boy in the car crouched under the glove compartment. After several minutes, the black-eyed boy finally disappeared. When the boy's mother returned to the truck, she informed him that the black-eyed child had come into the salon, demanding the keys to her vehicle. Thankfully, the boy's mother did not give in. "You must let me in." Fuck you.
Yeah, no. No. It's the monotone voice that gets me.
Yeah, and the black eyes.
Well, yeah, that too.
Okay, let's read this one. This is the first time I'm reading these. Which one should I read next? This one sounds interesting. Bumps in the night. One night, a man was dozing in the spare bed in his infant daughter's room when he heard a strange bump outside his house. Initially, the man thought nothing of it, believing it to be the family cat, but the thumps continued. The man checked the porch, but the cat was nowhere to be found. He then walked into the kitchen and found two figures loitering outside his front door. They knocked on the door. Both were boys, around 10 or 11, and gave off a pungent, moldy odor. "May we use your telegraph?" one of the boys said, looking up at the man. To his horror, the man realized both boys had eyes that were completely black. Ignoring the odd remark about a telegraph, the man told the boys he didn't have service in his house and shut the door. As the man slowly made his way back to his daughter's room, the two boys thumped on the walls. The man clutched his daughter to his chest as the boys incessantly knocked against the window. Their eerie eyes and awful persistence made the man too scared to fall asleep. He remained crouched on the floor of the room for several hours, fighting to ignore the knocks that occurred every couple of minutes. The moment his wife's alarm clock went off, however, the knocking ceased and the black-eyed children were nowhere to be seen. They asked to use a telegraph.
That hasn't been used in I don't even know how long.
I know. That's very old-timey.
Yeah.
So what the hell?
I'm trying to think of maybe they are... I mean, obviously being possessed. It's gotta be like deceased children, but their memories are kind of still there in the time that they passed.
Maybe.
But being possessed by something to literally just, they're using their body as a vessel. I don't know.
Something, yeah, because you would think, okay, aliens, they would be more
Advanced.
more up with the times. Yeah. But so would demons. Demons would be more up with the times too. They wouldn't ask to use a telegraph. To me, that's like a reanimated child thinking that it's still in whatever
Fine.
century they use telegraphs. Yeah, still in its own time. So what would that be?
I don't have a clue.
Some reanimated dead kid somehow.
Yeah, I literally can't think of anything, because if a demon is going to possess the body, wouldn't the demon be talking?
Yeah,
You-
so it would be that child still, you know?
Yeah. Some kind of resurrectionist spell?
Necromancy, voodoo, fucking voodoo.
Voodoo makes the most sense.
That's where zombies came from in the first place, was voodoo. So maybe it is some kind of reanimated corpse. This one to me seems like it's too bizarre to not be true. Who would think to say that they asked to use a telegraph? Who would think to make that part up? You know what I mean?
That's the weird thing about legends and folklore, is a lot of it sounds too real for the imagination to create that.
Yeah.
We're
That's
so
exactly what I'm
focused-
thinking.
Yeah, we're so focused on everything that's going on in our own lives. Where are we going to come up with that imagination? I mean, book writers, fiction writers, or is it nonfiction? I don't know. They have the mind for it, and I can see it coming out of a book. But when there are so many folklores in all sorts of different regions of the world where it's slightly different, but it's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Especially when it goes so far back and these regions of the world aren't communicating with each other, or they don't have the means to communicate with each other, but they have the same thing, like mermaids, aliens.
We're always going to come back to mermaids. But there's the water babies, Native American folklore. There's Irish folklore, the changelings. It's all kids. Kids that mean to do you harm.
Then there's also a thing about babies and children. They're innocent souls.
Well, yeah, they're supposed to be innocent souls.
They're supposed to be.
But whatever is going on with them is not innocent. They're being twisted somehow. So weird.
I don't know. Do you have like an origins of this?
Origins of what? The story?
Black-eyed children?
No,
Like
there
where
is
they
no
came from?
origin. There is no origin. Nobody knows where they came from. Nobody knows what they want. Nobody knows anything about them.
Or like the
It was
earliest
just-
account?
No.
God, get your
The only
research
thing
better.
is, I tried, and there's like nothing. Black-eyed children is a very new thing. Brian Bethel is the first one that I could find that even came out with his story, and then everybody else came forward, and they're like, oh my God, I've seen him too, here's my story. Nobody even really mentions them as far as I could find, except for him. And then after that, everyone else came out.
What year was that with Bethel?
1996.
Jeez.
Yeah, very recent.
You know, okay. You know how
And
Marilyn
his
Manson...
experience was real. No? Yeah, I know Marilyn Manson.
Well,
Of course.
no shit. He had contacts for black eyes at one point. Could any of this be contacts?
You know what? Yeah, they talked about that on the podcast. And the thing about the contacts is that back then, colored contacts like that were pretty damn expensive, and you had to special order them.
Yeah.
I mean, you still do now, but for little kids to get a hold of them at that time would have been, it's kind of unlikely. That's what they were thinking.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of anything that can like kind of debunk this and understand it a little bit, but
I know. Like, you're safe from them as long as you don't let them in. And a demon, you would think a demon wouldn't give a shit if you want them to come in or not. They're just going to come in. An alien, same thing. But if it's some kind of lore like a vampire, that's the only thing that I know of that, you know, the lore says that you have to give them permission to come in. So, but vampires, I feel like, is very far-fetched. Like, that's the only thing that ties this to vampires. I don't think that's it.
yeah, the only thing that I've ever heard about that with vampires is from the Vampire Diaries, that show. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Is it on True Blood as well?
True Blood. Yeah, True Blood. They have to have permission to come in your house.
Okay. So what did you say the range of the age was? Like 6 to 13 or something?
From kindergarten up until high school.
And they look just like a normal person, but with black eyes.
Yeah, and you would think that if they're corpses, they would look like corpses.
Yeah.
But they don't. They just look like regular kids, and you don't even realize that they have black eyes right off the bat.
Well, what do you know about necromancy?
Not much. I haven't looked into that too much yet, but I'm going to end up doing an episode about stuff like that. Could be some kind of necromancy, but what for? What are these kids sent to do to you? I mean, they don't even have to touch you and you're getting nosebleeds and being diagnosed with cancer and shit.
And is this just in the United States of the stories that you have?
No, over in Spain somewhere. There was a story. I did not write that one down though because it was really short and it kind of didn't make any sense. But that was even recent. That was like in the 80s. So I don't know.
I don't have a clue.
Whenever a kid comes, you know those kids that always come to your door asking if they can mow your lawn? Look at their eyes first. Look at their eyes before anything else. Whenever a kid just comes up to you out of nowhere asking for help, look at their eyes first. If they have black eyes, punt the little fucker and run.
I keep a taser next to the front door. Whether it's
Oh my
charged or not, whether it's charged or not, I have no idea, but I know exactly where it's at. I don't think it's charged.
I'm going to read another story. One October day, a man was walking up to his front door when he realized that his neighbor hadn't set out his typical array of Halloween decorations. He spotted his neighbor and asked him about it. The neighbor informed him that a terrifying experience the year prior deterred him from participating in Halloween that year. It was around midnight, the neighbor recounted, and he heard a knock at his door. Thinking it was a band of late-night trick-or-treaters, the man grabbed a bowl of candy and shuffled to the door. He swung the door open and was about to greet the two male teens when his body became rigid with fear. Both boys had pitch-black eyes, void of any white around their irises. One of the boys asked to come in and use the phone. Luckily, as he was overwhelmed with dread, the man refused. That's all it was.
So when people refuse, do they say anything about where the kids go? Like, do they watch them leave?
No, they just disappear. Like Brian Bethel, he drove off and looked in the rearview mirror and the kids should have still been standing there and they were just gone.
Could they actually just be ghosts?
Maybe. Ghosts go where they please.
Yeah, that's true.
We don't know a lot about ghosts, though. I mean, in all actuality, we know nothing about ghosts. So maybe some types of ghosts need permission.
Maybe kids that... Hell, it makes me wonder if these kids had problems in life. Something happened to them. You hear about kids killing other kids all the time.
Yeah.
What if it's a dark spirit?
If it is ghosts, yeah, I think they're dark spirits.
Maybe some dark spirits need permission. Maybe they're finding new ways of...
Maybe, I mean, even demons have rules. If you think about it, everything, I don't know if aliens do, but,
They do what they want. They probe people. Come on.
You want to be their pet. No butt stuff.
No butt stuff.
But no,
I just want to be their passenger princess. Feed them treats.
Oh, demons have certain rules, though. That's weird. So if these kids are demonic, maybe that is one of their rules, is they can't enter without permission. This is so interesting. I need to do a deep dive on demonology. Maybe I'll come across something that makes sense and kind of explains the black-eyed kids.
Yeah, there might be a connection somewhere. Like there has to be. Or at least something that has to do with children demons. Maybe they have a different set of rules.
It's the perfect disguise, though. Everyone wants to help out a kid. Everyone's going to be like, oh, this is a helpless kid. Yeah, I'm going to help him. It's a kid. But it's used against us, which suggests to me that it is demonic.
It's gotta be.
I think it is.
Especially, okay, like kids are supposed to have pure souls, and the black eyes and using their innocence against us, it's gotta be demonic.
Mm-hmm. They use our humanity against us. So yeah, demons. What else would do that?
Or at least something demonic, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe a combination of voodoo.
Maybe. It's like, where did they fucking come from? If they're demonic, how did they get that way? Because they're asking to use a telegraph, which means that they're from centuries ago. They wear outdated clothes. I wonder if they are corpses, but some way they make them look normal.
It would have to be in the clothes that they're buried in.
Maybe. I don't know. When someone gets possessed by a demon, the demon can actually change their appearance.
Okay.
You've never seen that? You've never seen like documentaries of that where their whole face will change when they're possessed?
I don't watch documentaries on demons. I watch documentaries on King Henry VIII in
The
England.
fuck are you doing with your life? We watch very different things. Anything about a demonic possession, I'm like, I'm down. That's what I'm watching tonight.
I love this is why we do separate episodes, because I love the historical fact and you love demons.
I don't love demons. I just like to talk about it. Okay, let me read another story. On November 19th, 1992, a man was watching Evil Dead while his wife and children were sound asleep in their rooms upstairs. It was 1:30 a.m. when he decided to head to bed after the movie was over. Suddenly, there was a loud pounding on his front door, and what stood behind the door would change his life forever. There stood a boy and girl, 8 and 11, respectively, who never looked up and were standing barefoot in the Michigan winter. Despite his anger, the man allowed the children to enter and allow them to use the phone to call their parents. But when he went to lend them the phone, they were gone. So he let him in the house, went to the phone, turned around to hand it to him, and they were gone. In the dead silence, he heard the first scream coming from one of the upstairs bedrooms. Whew! When the man reached his wife's room, he was met by the devastating sight of his wife in a pool of blood and terrifying sounds of bones snapping and flesh ripping, and saw the bare feet of the children he had just let in his home. Before he could act, the bare feet children moved swiftly to his kids' room and locked the door. Despite the man's best efforts, he could not help his children and stood helpless behind the door. When the act was done, the door slowly creaked open, and there stood the barefoot children covered in blood. They stood defiantly with awful grins and eyes completely black like the devil himself. This one I call bullshit. This happened in 1992. Wouldn't you hear about this?
And it happened in Michigan.
Yeah.
We would have heard about it growing up in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Ohio, Michigan, and Indiana kind of have these three states have kind of together.
This man definitely would have been on trial for murdering his wife and kids.
Well,
You know what I mean?
1992, when was, I feel like around that time, it was like Oklahoma City bombing and the O.J. Simpson trial. And I think Waco, Texas.
I don't
All
know.
three of those kind of took up a couple of those years where that's all you heard on the news.
But you would have heard about a man being on
But-
trial for murdering his family, don't you think?
Not in 1992.
Maybe not, but
I
I don't know.
we were so focused on all these different things happening. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have social media. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have anything like that. And most people couldn't afford cable, and news didn't travel like that. It could have maybe locally, but I don't think nationally.
I feel like I want to do some research and see if I can find anything about this story anywhere. Maybe it actually did happen, but holy shit. That was a bad one, and I'm just thinking that it's too bad to be true. You know?
Yeah, I want to look up something real quick. 'Cause I said Waco, Texas, and I feel like I don't know what year that was. I just don't want. Yeah, 1993.
Okay.
Okay, I just didn't want to say something that was like a decade wrong.
Yeah. Actually, I just realized that I said something wrong in my Halloween episode. You just reminded me I need to correct myself. When I was talking about Eloise Asylum and I was talking about the Rosenhan project or experiment, he wasn't sending these people to other asylums pretending to be mentally ill as moles. They weren't trying to see what kind of experiments they were doing there. He wanted to see if perfectly sane people could remain sane around the insane.
Okay.
But nevertheless, when they tried to leave, they weren't allowed to leave.
And then, I mean, refer back to our insane asylum episode and Halloween episode.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get too much into that.
No, I just needed to correct myself. You reminded me to correct myself about that. I'm not always right. I think I had forgotten And it was just in my mind that that was what the purpose was. And then I realized later, no, I already read what the purpose was. I just completely forgot. I don't know. You want to hear another story? It's about a cat, I think.
As long as the cat isn't harmed.
I don't know. I haven't read it yet.
Oh, shit.
It's called Did the Cat Go Away? In early November 2012, a woman was up late watching a movie with her cat when it suddenly leaped off of her lap. The woman was left stunned as she followed her cat into the laundry room, but the cat refused to leave from its spot between the machines. Suddenly, the woman heard knocks on her door and figured that it was late-night trick-or-treaters. In November? Okay. When she opened the door, the woman was met by two children, a boy and a girl. However, there was something strange about the children, who just stood there looking into her house. They weren't wearing costumes or holding any buckets. The boy suddenly asked the woman if her cat had left, which arose concern in the woman. Then the girl whispered to the woman, "We need to get inside." The boy was staring at her and grinning. Feeling fearful, she noticed that the eyes were completely black. The woman shut the door and called the police. The police only found footprints that led into the forest behind the woman's home. It wasn't until months later that the woman found a makeshift bed in her gardening shed.
She found what?
A makeshift bed. Like they were sleeping in her shed. What? But she thought they were trick-or-treaters in November?
She was probably just trying to rationalize something. I don't know.
Maybe, or this might not have even been in America. Maybe in other countries they celebrate Halloween a little differently a little bit later. Because in November in England, there's something called Guy Fawkes Night.
I've heard of that.
And that goes into like November 4th. It's more of a Thanksgiving thing, though, than a Halloween thing.
Yeah, it's usually about, like, harvesting.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe this was in England. It doesn't specify. But what the hell?
I'd move. I'd burn everything down and I'd move.
I was just thinking I would probably want to move. I don't want some weirdo sleeping in my shed.
Squatters' rights? No, burn everything down and move.
Yeah. Okay. This one's called Not in the Middle of Nowhere. On Thanksgiving 2015, it's crazy how recent these are, you know?
Yeah.
On Thanksgiving 2015 in suburban America, a woman was enjoying the holiday on her own in her house when she heard a knock. It was around 7:30 p.m. when she heard a knock on the door, believing it to be her neighbors. She opened the door without looking. However, there stood two boys outside of her door with an eerie stance. They avoided any eye contact, but kept insisting to enter the house. The woman became hesitant, which is when the older of the two boys became persistent. It is here that they finally looked up and the woman noticed that they had completely black eyes. She shut the door on them, but they continued to knock on the door. Eventually, she fell asleep during the early morning with all the lights on and the TV playing. Yeah, I would too. But when awoke, she found all the lights turned off and the TV filled with black and white static. There had been someone or something in her house. So these kids did not need permission to come in. They came in when she fell asleep.
But they still had black eyes.
Yeah. The thing is, I was thinking is like when we were growing up and we would fall asleep in front of the TV, we would wake up in the middle of the night and the TV would be static. But TV doesn't work that way anymore, not in 2015.
No.
And the lights wouldn't have been turned off either.
Well, the only thing some people have automatic lights, like lights set on a timer.
Well, obviously she didn't because she wouldn't have mentioned it otherwise.
It kind of sounds like, where did you get this article?
Off of thelineup.com.
And it's like people posting their stories.
Yeah.
Like it almost sounds like a chat GBT thing.
It might be. Like I said, some of these might be legit, some of these might not.
Just the way it's worded just sounds weird.
Maybe. Okay. Here's the last one. It's called Cryptic Beauty. This sounds weird. One evening, a recluse living in British Columbia decided to see a scary flick at a local movie theater. Although on edge because of the film, He leapt from his chair when he heard a knock on his door late that night. With each step he took towards the door, the man felt a sense of dread flood down his spine. Nevertheless, something compelled him to open the door. Standing on the front porch was a beautiful teenage girl. The man guessed she was around 6 feet tall. Wow. And she had beautiful blonde hair. "May I enter the premises?" the girl asked, looking up at the man with solid black eyes. Horrified by what he saw, the man screamed and slammed the door in her face. He marched to his bedroom, pulled out a gun, and sat in a chair in the corner until morning. Hours later, the man went to retrieve his mail. The black-eyed teen was nowhere to be found, but the word "soon" was etched into his front door. Oh, I'm moving.
Yeah, I'm moving.
Nope.
Yeah. Hold on. 6 foot tall. Okay. Where was this at again?
British Columbia.
Okay.
Doesn't say what year or anything. 6 foot tall teenage girl.
Well, I mean, in other countries, I think the Scandinavian countries, women are tall.
Okay.
You said blonde hair, sounds like Scandinavian.
But they're in British Columbia.
Isn't that like a Scandinavian country? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I'm trying to rationalize
fucking geography.
this.
I don't fucking know.
I actually don't think that's a Scandinavian country. Just trying to rationalize this. A 6 foot tall blonde female, but the age ranges.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to have a 13-year-old 6 foot tall unless she went through puberty and never developed afterwards.
Yeah, she had to have been an older teenager.
Yeah, this is all just creepy.
It's creepy, and you don't know if it's true or not, but Brian Bethel's story, he sticks to it. He was on a podcast talking about it, you know? It sounds like it's kind of a reputable podcast, too, if the host of that podcast was on Ancient Aliens. He was a guest on that podcast. So I listen to Ancient Aliens podcast all the time, and I just recently heard an episode with the host of this other podcast on it, and it's called like something about the stars, from the stars or something like that.
Well, when you figure it out, I will post it on the show notes for sure.
Wait, hold on a minute. I'm looking it up because I saved the episode. Somewhere in the Skies. Wow, I was way off. It's called, sorry, it was called Somewhere in the Skies with Ryan Sprague. Yeah. And this podcast episode came out in October 29th, 2017. Brian Bethel, Black-Eyed Kid Phenomenon.
Yeah, I don't have anything. I can't think of hell, we've got, the kids can't enter without permission, but then suddenly they're entering.
In some of the stories they are, yeah. Well, at least in the one story they are.
I'm still going to go back to voodoo, or
I think it's
something demonic.
I think it's a mix between some kind of voodoo or necromancy and demonic possession. I think it's a mixture of the two somehow. But the Telegraph thing just threw me off. Like that one, I feel like I want to believe just because it's so fucking bizarre, you know? Like, who's going to make that up? That was someone's story of their experience.
But I want to know what the purpose is. What are their purpose?
I don't know.
What are
but
they
it's
trying
not
to
good.
do?
I don't know. They're not trying to possess you because from the stories I've read, they're just making people sick. Well, the ones actually entered the house and murdered the whole family, but they're not trying to possess you.
Are they lost? Are they trying, this could make a little bit of sense.
What?
The way that they died, are they trying to do that to other people?
Maybe. There's a lot to say about the way people died. Like, people who believe in reincarnation, they have a theory of if you have a birthmark in a weird spot, it's because that's how you died in your past life. You were stabbed or shot there or something. Your birthmark points to the way you died in a past life or your last life. I don't know. Interesting, but I mean, they have black eyes and they ask to use a telegraph and they're wearing outdated clothes and they talk in monotone like they're not even human. I don't know. All of that. I don't know. I don't know. You know what we should do, though? Anyone who has gotten this far in this weird-ass episode, write in and tell us what you think. Let us know. what you think these things are. Even if you think it's completely fake, whatever, tell us what you think. This one was a really, really weird one.
Yeah, and you weren't sure if this was going to turn out, and I think it did.
You think so? You think this was a
Yeah.
good one? I don't know.
There's so many different things that we can think of that could work for the reasoning of this,
Yeah,
but none of it makes sense. And my biggest thing is why and what's the purpose?
I know, because a lot of people don't let them in and they're fine. They're just scared afterwards. And it's like, I don't know, what's the purpose? They gotta know that most of the time they're not gonna be let in. So what is the purpose of what they're doing? And what the hell, like, what do they want? Where did they come from? What are they? The vampire thing is just, I don't believe the vampire thing. I don't think they're vampires. I cannot wait to start researching vampires. Oh my God, I can't wait to do that. But I don't believe it's vampires. And it could be aliens, but like I said, I'm leaning towards some kind of demons or maybe a mixture of some kind of necromancy or voodoo with demonic possession.
I'm going with maybe new demons. Maybe they're not like up in the ranks yet, something, and they're trying to figure out how to get back to Earth. They're trying
Like
to
a
figure out
lower level demon.
Yeah, so they have to do kids. But then they realize like kids have an innocent soul, so maybe they're bringing the body back, but
They're limited.
Yeah, but
the innocence of their souls make them limited.
Yeah.
That's
maybe
that's a
that they're
good theory.
lost souls. That the demon is powering the corpse, but the child still has access to their own body and their own thoughts, and they don't know what the hell to do, and they're trying to get help from people, and they don't know how to communicate. The demon is kind of there and kind of not, so that's the monotone voice, and the black eyes is the demon, but the kid is, get this thing out of me and help me.
Oh my God, maybe.
That's...
Wow. Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
But the bloody noses and everything, that's definitely the demon.
Yeah. Maybe the demon has partial control and the innocent soul
that would
still
make sense, like, let me in so I can call my mom and dad.
But they don't have full control over their body because the demon is there.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Who knows?
You guys, oh my God, write us in and tell us what you think. This is so interesting. Seriously, right? Tell us what you think. Okay, is that all we have, though?
This is your episode. I don't know. I don't know anything about this.
That's all I have. I mean, it's going on. It's over an hour that we've been talking about this. So, yeah, I think that's about it. So, yeah, you guys, oh my God, let us know what you think these things are. And tune in next time for something completely different, probably.
And remember to do all the things. Like, follow, subscribe. It helps.
Share your favorite X-UMED episodes with people and try to get them on board.
And if you don't like us, share us with your enemies.
Yeah, all of it. All of the attention this podcast gets just helps it out. Helps us grow, helps us reach new people. So, yep, that's all I have. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.